Sharp chat room out there. Shout out to our magnificent United States Navy. Welcome to Cold War Radio Live, ladies and gentlemen. From our home base, WAAR, we are America Radio, your number one source for government and political talk anywhere. Coming to you from the Steel City Resistance Studio in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr., deep down in the bunker, and from the Empire City of the South studio in Atlanta, Georgia. Please come in. Stacey Rush.
Hello and good evening, Hutch Bailey Jr. and everybody listening out there. I hope you are doing well tonight.
Absolutely. The breakout of summer coming soon to a backyard near you. Please follow me on Spreaker, ladies and gentlemen. Like the Facebook page, facebook.com/Cold War Radio 22. You can catch the show on your Roku via Blueberry or YouTube, the 405media.com, iHeartRadio, or the Cold War Radio app, which is free in your app store, whether it be Google Play or the App Store. Email is hutch@steelcityresistance.com. The Cold War Radio patron hotline, 412-567-1460. If you'd like to join the show, the chat room is up on Spreaker, always lively there. Please visit steelcityresistance.com to catch the show notes links, the research room, and most importantly, become a Cold War Radio patron. If you want to send any mail, it's Hutch Bailey Jr., P.O. Box 96022, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This is Cold War Radio on We Are America Radio, WAAR. 2 A's in our A radio. Cajun Ken, I want to thank you, sir. I went to the mailbox and got your supporting letter. I appreciate that very much. Always good to hear from you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, just for those of you who haven't didn't get a chance to check the last show out, we did a rescheduled show last night. So there was a show last night. If you weren't there live, and I noticed that a lot of you weren't, you can go check that out. Check out the replay. It was a really good show. Jack came out on Wednesday instead of Tuesday because my son came out to camp on the other day. So, you know, he was good enough to change days, so we recorded the show last night. Did it live last night, but the recording's out there. All right, a good note for sure. Stacey, Melania Trump, the First Lady, said that she's feeling great after kidney surgery. That's a good thing. That kind of came by all of a sudden, like.
Yeah, it did, and I was so glad to hear that it, was something that had been scheduled, and I think that's actually kind of interesting that her surgery and some of the more important things that happen in the Trump administration somehow are leak-proof, while other things are not. So kudos to them for keeping that private for her, and I am glad that she is doing well.
Yeah, I think there's some tightening up of that situation with the leaks. I mean, I don't know. I have a feeling that they're starting to identify people. Mm-hmm. And, I have some things that I want to go through that are in the show notes, but I was thinking about something today, and I'm not sure. I talked to a couple people about it that aren't involved in politics, and they don't really seem that upset. Mm-hmm. And we go by our day-to-day lives. This is the anniversary, the 1-year anniversary of the beginning of the coup d'etat that was taking, the failed coup that's taking place right in our midst. And, I think that's an area that we ought to be a lot more pissed off about than we are. When you think about what actually happened, and we don't even know that it started with Donald Trump. It could have started with John McCain. Mm-hmm. This use of the FBI and these gun-wielding agencies of the United States government, these lethal agencies, against a certain political party, and then you have the dormant Republican Party not mad. Mm-hmm. And it's gotten to a point where I don't know what. Well, maybe if Apple melted down or something, or you couldn't get an iPhone, maybe people would riot then.
Yeah,
but this is a sad state of affairs.
It is a sad state of affairs, and I agree with you. I do not think that this started with the Trump administration because I think it's gone too smoothly for them for it to have started in the Trump administration. I think this has actually been something that's gone on for an awfully long time. And to also see, as if it's not bad enough to have these agencies target a political party, the coordination with the media is startling. You look at this story from the New York Times that just came out as a precursor to the IG report. They know their goose is cooked. They know what is going to come out, and maybe not in this IG report, but he's also going to be next looking into the FISA abuses. They're trying to get out ahead of it. I find it striking how much coordination there is. And I find it sad. I really do. And I agree with you. I don't know what it's going to take. I constantly, I have very few liberal friends, but the liberal friends I do have, constantly are still trying to hold on to this whole Trump-Russia narrative and all the BS. And I keep constantly trying to get across to them, you should be worried about this too.
Yeah.
Because at some point, they may not like your guy. And actually, they didn't like your guy. Bernie Sanders should have been the guy. And they didn't like him, so they took him out. And so at what point is it going to take for Democrats to wake up and for us to actually, to really rise up? And I think that's why you're seeing a slow drip of all of this come out, Hutch, to be honest with you, because I do think that they understand how much your mind can take before it shuts down.
Yeah, and I tweeted out today, and I'm starting to get of the mind, and you heard it from me, I'm not backing down from this, ladies and gentlemen. I think at the end of the day, the principals involved in this that use these agencies should be hung by the neck until dead. Mm-hmm. This is a capital offense, and nobody even gives a damn about it, except for us. And, I mean, there's a lot of us now. There's tens of millions of us. But this is unacceptable. Our country cannot survive this way. It cannot. No. And I mean media people too.
Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. At this point in time, quite frankly, Hutch, I would just like to start out with a frickin' prosecution and jail time, because I hear what you're saying, and you are right. This is treasonous behavior by the people that are involved. But I swear to you, I would take a jail sentence for a Brennan or a Comey or a Yates. I would take that at least. Even if Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama don't go down for this, I would take one freaking higher up jail sentence. And I swear to you, Hutch, I still have zero faith that that's going to happen. And I really want to be proven wrong, but I just see no. I believe in Trump and the team that he has put into place, and I do believe that they are very thoroughly going through this. I just don't know, with all of the corrupt players in the Justice Department throughout the United States, who's going to prosecute. And
we're in make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen, your great-grandkids are going to read about this era. Mm-hmm. This is the biggest scandal that has ever hit the United States of America, shy maybe of the Civil War. But other than that, there's nothing. Watergate, G. Gordon Liddy went to prison. He went to Attica after Watergate, and that was peanuts compared to this. Listen to this reporter and how this is the other thing. These reporters, these 30-year-olds that are in here, they're either really stupid or they're indoctrinated. This guy totally believes what he's saying, and Sarah cuts him up.
He wants them to be tougher and more aggressive on that front. Jeff?
Thank you, sir. This morning, the president marked the one-year anniversary of the Mueller investigation, saying it's disgusting, illegal, unwarranted, and a witch hunt. But his own FBI director yesterday said it's not a witch hunt. Why does the White House still believe it's a witch hunt? And why did he cancel his news conference this afternoon, which was originally set for 3 o'clock with the NATO Secretary
Different topics, but the president knows that there was no collusion in the campaign, and he has been quite clear about this. It's gone on for over a year. They found no evidence of collusion and still strongly believe that it's a witch hunt. I'm not sure how we could be any more clear, and certainly not sure how the president could be any more clear about his beliefs and his opinion. In terms of a press engagement, the president will have press at his event here shortly, which is why we're going to have to keep it quick and short today, and likely take a few questions at that event. Jordan.
I mean, I just can't believe that they're still entertaining this farce. It's been like proven over and over again that there's nothing here, and these people that are supposed to be the press with a straight face come out there and say, well, the president says it's a witch hunt, but the FBI's own director said it's not. It's like, come on, man, you don't do any investigating?
Well, and the thing that frustrates the hell out of me is the fact that actual collusion occurred between Russia and the Hillary campaign.
Yeah.
Actual trying to influence our election occurred between people in the FBI and DOJ. And Mueller is investigating to the tune of $10 million and starting year 2 of Trump and his campaign, and there is no collusion. What I would like to see is who the hell is going to investigate them, because their crimes actually happened on the other side, and we've wasted over a year on this, and that is so frustrating.
And the ones that frustrate me the most are the Republicans in Congress, because they're the ones that should be in front of the mics demanding time to end this. Because really, when you think about it, I don't even care about collusion in elections. That's been going on since time has been. I mean, since the first elections. We mess with everybody's elections. Everybody messes with ours. But for the agencies of the government to go after a political party, an established agency of the federal government, to do that is terrifying. If you think about it, that is bad.
And it should terrify everyone, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. And the fact that it doesn't just makes me want to get a baseball bat out sometimes and bash some people's heads in.
I mean, the FBI and DOJ, they have MRAPs. They have access to machine guns. They're going after you for speaking your mind. That's unbelievable. It really is. Now, I think a reporter at MSNBC, she might have got fired by now. She probably did. Her name's Stephanie Rule. I never heard of her. I never watched MSNBC. But I think she made a mistake today. She got off the plantation a little bit. MSNBC, ladies and gentlemen.
Time for Money, Power, Politics. As we've said, a year ago this week, Robert Mueller launched his special investigation into possible collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia during the 2016 elections. But what happened economically for Americans in their day-to-day lives in the past year? It's more than just Russia and collusion. We've got to live our lives. So let's take a look. Americans have made gains with this president. Nearly 3 million jobs have been created since Trump took office. And there are a record 6.3 million job openings that employers are ready to fill now. The unemployment rate has fallen almost a full percentage point from 4.8% in January 2017 to 3.9% in April. That is the lowest in 18 years. Wages are starting to tick up slowly, rising 2.6% in April from the previous year. So we still need to play some real catch-up there. But meanwhile, the stock market continues on its 9-year bull run. The Dow has gained 20% in the past year alone, fueled by strong corporate earnings. Only half of Americans are actually invested in stocks, and mostly through 401ks and other retirement accounts. But President Trump says his tax cuts, his deregulation, and killing the agenda of regulating and holding businesses back are going to boost our economy, which he says will benefit all Americans in the form of higher wages. We're going to see if that works out the way he says it will. But here's the thing. Trickle-down economics require trickling down, and we don't know if that's going to happen yet. I want to share some numbers. Right now, 40% of American households are struggling to pay for basics like rent, transportation, childcare, and phone services. And that is even for people who have jobs and live above the federal poverty line, according to a new study from the United Way. So while President Trump deserves a lot of credit for the economic gains that we're seeing and the positive business sentiment in this country, we need to talk more about what needs to be done for Americans, and does this system benefit all of us?
Please report to the office. I can't believe that. I came across that, and I just felt that you guys ought to hear it. You can't deny this stuff. You can try, and they are, but it's in the end, I think it's going to be a red wave.
I do too. And I see where Senator McConnell said today that he felt like, the GOP was going to have a really difficult time in the midterms. No, not if you get out there and actually promote all of the positives that have occurred with the Trump agenda and point out what the Democrats stand for. The Democrats stand for MS-13. The Democrats stand for Hamas. The Democrats stand for raising your taxes. The Democrats stand for taking your guns away. The Democrats stand for, basically nothing that will benefit America. And I don't understand how we could not have a red wave. It's about the economy, stupid. And it continues to go gangbusters. And I truly think if you have some people who know how to message, that it should be a red wave.
Well, Jack in the chat room said what I was thinking. It's going to be It's going to be difficult for people like Mitch McConnell.
That's true.
For rhinos like him. I mean, it's still, and I said this last night, for every story that comes on the show, there's 10 that don't get to come on. And one of the ones I was looking at was a guy that was just perturbed that McConnell hasn't been investigated and held accountable for his dealings with China, for his in-laws. And I agree with that. I think I remember when we were going through the Obamacare thing and the Cornhusker deal and all that was going on, and Mitch McConnell got a port. He got money for a port somewhere, and then I didn't know that his family was in shipping at the time. But now we find out that he is, and I'm thinking that's why he got that port, for his father-in-law. So,
I'm telling you, it always, comes back to follow the money. It's just unbelievable that you have these guys who come up there, make $147,000 a year. And if they're not, a John Kerry or a Kennedy, yet they come out multimillionaires, it is all a bunch of crap. And they know that if Trump is successful with draining the swamp, why would they want to be public servants?
They ought to have an out-processing checklist the way the U.S. Army does in Korea. In Korea, you get a ration control plate because everything you can buy, you can sell on the black market and triple your money. So everything that you buy, a big ticket item like over $100, then that was in the 80s, like a television set or a stereo, gets put on your ration control record. And then at the end, when you go home, you have to show them that TV. That's what they should do with Congress. Their bank accounts ought to be audited when they leave, or halfway through, or every year, whatever it is. This is blatant, and it's right out in the open, and it's like an open secret.
It is, but we, the people, have allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
We continue to send them back over and over and over again and buy into you got to have people there who know how to get things done. He's got good name recognition in the primary, so you better vote for him because he'll never beat the highly funded Democrat. So shame on us as well.
That's right. All right, we're going to go to Front Page Magazine. It's time for a little education. A guy, Michael Ledeen, penned an excellent historical piece entitled Trump, Truman, and Israel. And I just wanted to bring to the attention of maybe some of the listeners don't know this, on the turbulence that we went through when it comes to Israel. The deep state's decades-long war on Israel and the presidents who have stood in its way. And Michael Ledeen is a Shulman Journalism Fellow at the Freedom Center and Freedom Scholar at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. I dare say few Americans know that May 14th is the anniversary of the United States recognition of Israel. It was done by President Harry S. Truman in the face of extraordinary opposition from several of Truman's closest advisors. It wasn't easy. Some of the most powerful men in America were opposed, and they weren't reluctant to fight the president. We've got a melodramatic account from Robert Holbrook, who interviewed all the principal players some years later and wrote an essay about it for the Washington Post. He contends that beneath the surface lay unspoken but real anti-Semitism on the part of some, but not all, policymakers. The position of those opposing recognition was simple: oil, numbers, and history. According to Holbrook's records, Defense Secretary James Forrestal told Truman Assistant Clark Clifford that there are 30 million Arabs on one side and about 600,000 Jews on the other. Why don't you face up to the realities? The crisis was narrowly averted. On May 12th, Holbrooke says, Truman held a meeting in the Oval Office to decide the issue. Marshall, that was former General Marshall, the Marshall Plan after World War II, Forrestal, also Navy Admiral. Marshall, the Secretary of State, and his deputy, Robert Lovett, made the case for delaying recognition, and delay really meant deny. Truman asked his young aide, Clark Clifford, to present the case for immediate recognition. When Clifford finished, Marshall uncharacteristically exploded. I don't even know why Clifford is here. He's a domestic advisor, and this is a foreign policy matter. The only reason Clifford is here is that he is pressing a political consideration. Marshall then uttered what Clifford would later call the most remarkable threat I ever heard anyone make directly to a president. In an unusual top-secret memorandum, Marshall wrote for the historical files after the meeting. The great general recorded his own words. I said bluntly that if the president were to follow Mr. Clifford's advice, and if in the elections I were to vote, I would vote against the president. We don't know how or even if Marshall voted in the 1948 election, but we do know that he was of a piece with other branches of the establishment, notably what we now call the intelligence community. Listen to the authoritative Michael Dorn. No sooner had Truman recognized Israel than the CIA secretly sponsored and funded establishment of the American Friends of the Middle East. Outwardly a people-to-people public diplomacy initiative, AFME brought influential Middle Easterners to the United States, helped them write and publish books and articles, and seeded Middle Eastern student organizations on American college campuses. It also lobbied Congress against Israel. Now you think about that, Stacy, and who was the first Muslim Brotherhood organization to infiltrate the United States? The Muslim Students Association. Mm-hmm. And the CIA did it.
It's unbelievable that this was occurring 70 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm dumbfounded by this. And, it just seems, I mean, I read this and I'm speechless because I truly didn't realize that this was the position of so many people within our government, and that the CIA created this whole Middle East, influence and input into the United States and into the government. I mean, it's insane to me.
Well, I know we did a couple shows, Norway and I, about Nazis in the United States. There were Nazis in the 1930s. I mean, uniform-wearing Nazis at rallies in the United States, and there was a lot of anti-Semitic things going on because before 1947, they didn't have their own country. They were just in Europe and the United States and everywhere. But the significance, Trump and his team were flabbergasted when the Washington establishment not only refused to carry out his policies, but fought them. He shouldn't have been surprised. That's the pattern. And it applies across the board, from national security to tax and trade. It won't be changed spontaneously. Trump, Kelly, all of them, must grab the system by the throat and impose their will on it. The president has to fight for his policies every day, and to be effective, he must take control of the bureaucracy, staffing it out with his own people. The key positions are the action jobs, the assistant secretaryships. Moreover, he must ruthlessly and systematically fire or transfer way down the corridors of power those that oppose him. And Stacey, we've been saying that from the beginning on these shows.
Yeah, we have. And it is something that's frustrating to continue to see. And that is that it seems to be taking, I guess, much longer than I anticipated that it would. But I don't know why I anticipated that it would go quickly. You were talking about just how many tens of thousands of employees there are entrenched in D.C., or they're administration in, administration out, and they vote 99% Democrat there? And it's just so frustrating, and I don't know why I am surprised at how long it's taken, but he's got to do that, Hutch, and he's got to continue to do it. And I anticipate he's going to be president for 8 years, and I know he can run a tighter ship with less people, but he's got to gain control of these leaks, and he's got to get people surrounding him, and like this article alludes to, even the assistants to the secretaries and deputies and things of that nature that support Trump and his policies.
And I know I listened to Rush Limbaugh today. I was on the road, and he better do this soon, and he better do it thoroughly, because Rush alluded to the fact that he didn't even say if. He just said this was going to happen anyway, and I don't think it will. I think he could do this. The author calls out, by and large, this is Trump's greatest failure, although he shows signs of getting it right. But if he gets out of office, they're just going to get him when he gets out.
Yeah.
If he doesn't.
And I think, and that was the thing I noticed, too, about the statement of Mueller said he wouldn't indict a sitting president. Yeah, and you're right. As soon as he gets out of office, they'll go after him, and they will try and ruin him, and I agree with what Rush said. They've got to make an example of him. They have got to ruin him, because they never want another outsider who has their own money, is not beholden to special interest, and can't be controlled by anybody but the American people to get this office again.
But you know what? I think he can take them out. I think he knows this. I don't. He has to know this. From what he's seen himself, he has to know this. And can you imagine what happens inside the meetings?
No.
I mean, can you imagine him talking to Paul Ryan or Mitch McConnell? I mean, this guy has to know. So, and he's a fighter. We all know that. So, at the end of the day, before this first term's over, the bodies better start falling. I mean, I'm telling you, the people need to be put away, discredited, and really, the Democrat Party should be laid out. I mean, at the very least, it should be identified 4 socialist candidates. 1 in Pennsylvania.
No.
Socialists.
2 in Pennsylvania, I heard.
4. 2 in Philly and 2 in Pittsburgh.
Oh, wow.
And the Democrat Socialists of America was standing proud with their flag, just happy as hell about it. This is something that we're in a very serious, precarious position with the mental state of our youth right now. And they're being prodded along by these old hippies, the red diaper doper babies from the 60s that are getting their wish. But I think we'll prevail. But anyway, that's that, ladies and gentlemen. Go check it out. There's a couple more paragraphs left there. They say all kinds of good things about Mitch McConnell and whatnot. I'm not going to go there. That was thank you, sir. Good article. Now let's have some fun. There was a big thing about something that the president said the other day. And the media just went stupid with it. I'm trying to remember the order in which I did these. Which one did I do first? All right, let's listen to the president and exactly what he said. Oh, man, I can't remember which one I did first. Anyway, all right, here we go.
But now ICE is the only law enforcement agency that cannot use our databases to find the bad guys. They cannot come in and talk to people in our jail. Unless they reach a certain threshold. They can't do all kinds of things that other law enforcement agencies can do. And it's really put us in a very bad position. It's a disgrace.
And we're suing on that, and we're working hard, and I think it'll all come together. Because people want it to come together. It's so ridiculous. The concept that we're even talking about is so ridiculous. We'll take care of it, Margaret.
Thank you. There could be an MS-13 gang member I know about. If they don't reach a certain threshold, I cannot tell ICE about them.
Yeah. We have people coming into the country, or trying to come in. We're stopping a lot of them. But we're taking people out of the country. You wouldn't believe how bad these people are. These aren't people. These are animals. And we're taking them out of the country at a level and at a rate that's never happened before. And because of the weak laws, they come in fast. We get them, we release them, we get them again, we bring them out. It's crazy.
Now, one of the things, you heard what he said about MS-13 members. And immediately, the media piled on, switched the words around, and made it like President Trump said every immigrant in the world is an animal. And the thing I think that I know I like the most, I can't stand when somebody backs down from the truth. And President Trump never does that.
The word animal yesterday and referring
Yeah.
to some people.
Well, it has nothing to do with this meeting, but I'm referring, and I'm referring to the MS-13 gangs that are coming in. And I was talking about the MS-13, and also, and if you look a little bit further on in the tape, you'll see that. So I'm actually surprised you're asking this question because most people got it right. But I'm saying the MS-13, you don't have that where you come from. MS-13, these are animals. They're coming into our country. We're getting them out. They come in again. We're getting them out. We need strong immigration laws. We have the weakest laws in the entire world. We have laws that are laughed at on immigration. So when the MS-13 comes in, when the other gang members come into our country, I refer to them as animals. And guess what? I always will. But we're getting them out by the thousands. But it's a big, dangerous job. And they're able, in some cases, to come back in, or new groups come in, also from the gangs.
Well, I'll tell you what, isn't that refreshing?
It is. I loved when he said, I'm really surprised you're even asking that question. I mean, honestly, sometimes I'm just so blown away by how transparently hostile the media is toward Trump, and that they think that they can get away with something like this. Any thinking person who listened to that transaction between he and the sheriff understand that he was talking about MS-13, and they just keep playing right into Trump's hands. And so I say continue on, mainstream media, because they're just pushing more and more people toward Trump.
Now, I think that was a lily-livered European
that sounded like it.
That was a NATO meeting. That was a meeting with the NATO Secretary General. That's why he was mad at the beginning. That's not what this meeting is about. But you had to bring it over here. But, the president didn't even really have to say anything at all because Sarah was ready.
Aware of their annual, and at this point we have no intention of changing it. Steve?
I just want to ask you, because so many people in the country have been talking about it in the last 24 hours, what did the president mean when he said that some immigrants are not people, they're animals?
The president was very clearly referring to MS-13 gang members who enter the country illegally and whose deportations are hamstrung by our laws. This is one of the most vicious and deadly gangs that operates by the motto of rape, control, and kill. If the media and liberals want to defend MS-13, they're more than welcome to. Frankly, I don't think the term that the president used was strong enough. MS-13 has done heinous acts. It took an animal to stab a man 100 times and decapitate him and rip his heart out. It took an animal to beat a woman they were sex trafficking with a bat 28 times, indenting part of her body. And it took an animal to kidnap, drug, and rape a 14-year-old Houston girl. Frankly, I think that the term animal doesn't go far enough, and I think that the president should continue to use his platform and everything he can do under the law to stop these types of horrible, horrible, disgusting people. I'm going to take one more question. Peter?
Thank you, Sarah.
Now I'll go back to your room. Wow.
Back down. And what I can't believe is that he asked that after this had already been debunked. And I'm glad he did. Don't get me wrong, because it gave her a chance to smack him down and things that we can, retweet and post on social media showing, how absolutely absurd these people are for defending MS-13. But how do you ask that question when everyone knows that it was taken out of context? And if you ask that question, you are either completely partisan or completely incompetent at your job, because you should know that that was not what he said.
And I mean, he added words. He said that he called immigrants non-people and animals. No, that's not what happened. And you know it. That was a beautiful smackdown, and we are being served like never before in the press office. I mean, this is the first time. We used to get steady ass whoopings every day when we were in there, and the Democrats were very good at it too. Jay Carney, I don't know how he hugged his kids at night.
I don't either. How you can be so dishonest every single day is unbelievable to me. But you know what? Yeah, I guess you can, because at the end of the day, he probably believed half the crap he was selling to people, and he knew nothing was going to happen. Just like they think nothing is going to happen with this whole, FISA abuse and spying on Trump. They think they're immune because they have been immune for decades.
Somebody else who thinks she's immune, circuit judge says ballots were illegally destroyed in Debbie Wasserman's Schultz House race. This is from the Daily Caller, Nick Givas, who's the media and politics reporter there. Florida Circuit Court Judge Rock Singal ruled the Broward County back in the news, Supervisor of Elections Office violated state and federal law Friday after the office destroyed ballots from a 2016 House race for Democrat Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz's seat. I think this is right up in the top 5 of our national security issue problems.
I agree. We cannot continue to have our elections stolen by these people. And so here's my question for you, Hutch. Florida Circuit Court judge rules that she violated state and federal law. What's going to happen?
I know. And I saw a sister article to this that said people like her cling to office so they can stay out of jail. Well, I think we ought to get serious about this. And I'm telling you, Jesus, President Trump, if anybody's listening, we are the planets are lined up right now. If we blow this right now, the country's over. Mm-hmm. If we blow that, we are lined up right now. You've got 70 million Americans that are foaming at the mouth for justice to be served. And the only people that can do it is you. And I hate to say that. But, I mean, I don't know where else to go. Where do you go if the Justice Department is gone?
Mm-hmm. And in your article here, it says related, Maryland AG thinks feds shouldn't waste time trying to combat voter fraud. Of course you don't think they should, because then maybe a Democrat might lose an election or two. And I'm with you, not only with this election, but with the illegal immigration and the mayor, I think it was, in California, who warned illegal immigrants about upcoming raids. Make examples of these people. Start prosecuting them.
It's the only way.
It is the only way. We need to prosecute the people in the FBI and DOJ who were spying on Trump. We need to prosecute these elected officials who continue to make a mockery out of our elections and out of our rule of law.
Well, at least everybody got locked up on the Aquan scandal with the IT stuff. At least all those people got locked up. Not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it just, I'm telling you that too, huge scandal. And it's unbelievable to me that how many Republicans are forced out of office and prosecuted, and yet some of the biggest scandals going on are just swept under the rug as if nothing has occurred. I do not know why that has not gotten more attention, especially with the ties to Pakistan and the money that was going back and forth. I mean, this truly was a cybersecurity risk, and it seems that nobody is really paying attention to that story.
And I think I read some stories that it was an actual operation. I mean, they were using this information. It wasn't just potential. It was getting, Pakistan's ISI has all that information.
Oh, of course.
It's you're right. It's something that people need. I've been saying this since the beginning of the administration, since I realized that Jeff Sessions was neutered on all this. Now, kudos to him for going after MS-13, but MS-13 is a small tactical problem. It is a problem, but it's not a strategic problem. Now, these elections are, and these crooked politicians that get away with everything, and the fake media is a serious problem. And I don't know what to do about the media. I don't. I just, I got stuff in my head, but I'm not going to talk about it on the radio. But I mean, this is something that it needs to stop for us to survive.
It has to, and I do think that definitely people are getting their media from new sources, and I think that is a really good thing. It's just
unless it's a Huffington Post, I mean.
Yeah, but there is just something about the coordinated effort with all the other media. And that's the problem that's almost sometimes too hard to surmount, because it's keep the same message, keep it simple, and repeat it. And if you continually do that over and over again, you can get a lot of people to believe a lot of things.
You know, if you think about it, now I sat here, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this quickly enough, but I might be able to. But I sat here at the beginning, during the even the primary for the presidency, and we had the email scandal was starting to go through, and no, I don't have it. All right. Anyway, the whole idea of Hillary Clinton, there it is. Bam. No, is that? No, it ain't.
You good.
No, I thought I was. Oh, yes, I am. By God, I am. 18 U.S. Code 2071, concealment, removal, or mutilation generally. Whoever willfully and unlawfully conceals, removes, mutilates, obliterates, or destroys, or attempts to do so, or with intent to do so, takes and carries away any record, proceeding, map, book, paper, document, or other thing, filed or deposited with any clerk or officer of any court of the United States, or in any public office, or with any judicial or public officer of the United States, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years, or both. B, whoever having the custody of any such record, proceeding, map, book, document, paper, or other thing, willfully and unlawfully conceals, removes, mutilates, obliterates, falsifies, or destroys the same, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years, or both, and shall forfeit his office and be disqualified from holding any office under the United States. As used in this subsection, the term office does not include the office held by any person as a retired officer of the Armed Forces of the United States. Now, how did we go through an entire election cycle and nobody said nothing about that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that, am I crazy, or is Hillary Clinton unfit for office legally?
Yeah, no, of course she is. She should be a felon. You know, I mean,
but just with the emails, just with deleting the emails,
right? Just with deleting them, and that to me was, I couldn't believe that she wasn't being charged with obstruction of justice. They were subpoenaed, and she didn't just let her attorneys go through and figure out which ones were yoga related and which ones were State Department related. She destroyed the ones that she deemed were not related. And that, to me, is a crime.
And not one Brett Baer, not one Charles Krauthammer, not one Rush Limbaugh. Nobody said anything.
Mm-mm.
You know, it just slipped right by like we don't have the rule of law. And everybody completely ignored that after it got put out, because I didn't know it was there. I mean, I copied it from somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it just, oh, man, it's the death of a nation, man. It is. It's right there in writing.
When you apply the law differently to different groups of people, you have a big problem. And that's why this stuff continues to go on, Hutch, because they all cover for one another. Do you know who should have been in a heap of trouble years ago? Was when, and I think Brennan was in charge. I could be wrong about that, but or not Brennan, the FBI was spying on members of Congress during the Iran deal.
Yeah.
Why didn't people go to jail for that?
There's so much.
How as a representative or a senator, do you not cause it? Nobody really cared.
I think
that they did that.
If you look at what's been going on in Washington, especially over time, I swear they're deviants in Congress, and I think this deep state, and I honestly believe this. I think every incoming member of Congress is scrutinized and is set up.
I can promise you that is a fact.
And that's why.
There is a man who I worked with on a Senate campaign here in Georgia, and he helped write the fair tax. He has since passed away, and he told me that every incoming member of the Senate or the House is investigated they find out what their weaknesses are, what their fetishes are, and they give them to them on a silver platter in order to be able to control them. It is a fact, and it occurs.
And that's why they hate Trump so much, because they can't get him. Mm-hmm. The man is 70 years old, and they can't find anything on him. All their microscopes are out. He was a godsend, I'm telling you. I mean, to have that much power and no dirt, I mean, wow. All right, we gotta wrap this up a little bit. Front Page Magazine, Keith Ellison's state, the great Somali welfare ripoff, $100 million in taxpayer cash shipped out of country in the past year alone. This is brought to us by Lloyd Billingsley. At the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, the carry-on bag bulged with $1 million in cash from a welfare ripoff scheme. The loot was headed for Somalia, some of it to regions controlled by the Al-Shabaab terrorist group, and this shipment was part of a $100 million sent over the past year alone. The scheme was not uncovered by the New York Times, CNN, Frontline, or any investigative journalist in the old line establishment media. It came to light in millions of dollars in suitcases fly out of MSP, but why? A story by Jeff Ballion of KMSP, a Fox News outlet in Minnesota, and the subject of a Powerline blog by John Hinderaker on Monday. And there you go. There's the local media is the only ones you can trust anymore. And there's more on that, ladies and gentlemen. And there's also something about the writers are starting to have a hard time when it comes to Barack Obama, because it's hard to write books about a blank presidency. From the American thinker and Silvio Canto Jr. Basically, anything that he's done is being rolled back. So they're having a hell of a time trying to put some memoirs together.
And I love it. And I love to see his little teeny bopper supporters get all, their noses bent out of joint about everything that Trump's been able to reverse. But you know what? When you live by the pen and phone, you die by the pen and phone. And he did everything of consequence in his administration through executive order. And when you do that, thank God that President Trump was elected, because otherwise you would have had Hillary continuing these terrible policies, and then nobody would have come in and tried to take them away.
That's right. So make sure, ladies and gentlemen, you get out there and support good candidates for the midterms, because the same thing can happen to the president. We got to make sure we get some people that support him in office, so we can get what we need to get done. Stacey, we're out of time. How can people get in touch with you, and any final comments?
You guys have been great tonight, and thank you for having me on, Hutch. I enjoyed it thoroughly. You can reach me at DiscoveringMe40 on Twitter and The Right Rush on Gab, and I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you once again, Stacey from Atlanta. Thanks to everybody for listening live, and to those of you that listen to the podcast all over the place. We love you too. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr. on Facebook, Berg's Eye View on Twitter. Heading over to the Wayne Dupree Show. You can hear Rocky warming the chopper up on the roof. Thanks for letting us into your life for 1 hour, ladies and gentlemen. God bless.
Cold War Radio Eagle 1 cleared for takeoff.
Cold War Radio Eagle 1, Baltimore bound man. Destination We Are America Radio Studio, Rocky out. button. Eagle 1, this is Godzilla, coming around you to light the bad guys up with a Maverick.
Roger, over.